What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Tony Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show, joined again with Ryan Davenport, and we're going to recap this North Texas UAB game. But before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football or G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that's truly all that we talk about. Ryan, I appreciate it. The season's finally over. I know we're going to get into some, hopefully retention talk and IL talk here at the end here. But as far as this North Texas UAB game goes, starting off on the defensive side of the ball, what did you see and what are your takeaways?
Well, I mean, more of the same, I guess. Bend but don't break is what we're trying to do right now, and it was pretty much what we've seen all season. We couldn't stop the run. It was a tough day. It was tough sledding. They were slow starting out of the gate. Gave up a couple touchdowns early on the ground, and kind of had to fight out of a hole there. I guess if I'm speaking about the benefits, I guess we stuck with our guns this year, and we're trying to recruit to match this style of defense. And I did watch a Iowa State game the other day, and seeing that defense executed the way I think it's intended, they did a good job with it. Iowa State did. So maybe we just need the right personnel to have it function here. But it's a tough sledding defense, and I didn't think we looked particularly good, but we got the win, so I guess we did what we needed to do.
Yeah, and a lot of seniors signing off. One in
Yep.
particular, Mason Richards. Great career here, great story. Glad that them and as well as him, just going out on a win. What is your thought? So the Iowa State game, right? And they were in the 3-3-5.
Mhm.
Capone's cut from that fabric and stuff. What do you feel size wise that we need on average the D line and linebackers to be in this 3-3-5 to work?
You want actual sizes? I mean, I think you're.
Like if they're going to target guys in the portal, and I'm not saying they will, but it's hypothetically they go after, like what size of D lineman do you think they need in for this, in this defense, as well as what size of the
I mean, your
linebacker?
nose guard's got to be 5'11", 6 foot, 330 pounds probably. At the end of the day, your end guys are going to be between 6'2" and 6'5", and they're going to be 280 to 300 pounds, depending on size. I mean, that's what you want. I don't know how that compares to what we had this year. I didn't pull up any stats of those guys, but when we played here, I mean, that was what we were looking for. Some of your nose tackles going to be a little shorter. You might get a 5'9", 5'10" guy in there because they're little squatty guys, but they got to be every bit of probably 320 in the middle there, and then it's a little different because you're not playing with true edge pass rusher. These are more run stopping ends. And so you're talking more, they got to have speed, and they've got to be able to get off the ball, but they also have to be big in the middle. And so you need to be 280 to 300 pounds, most likely on the edge. And you're probably a little bit taller guy. Maybe you can get away. Like I said, 6'2" is probably the low end of that. But 6'4" is what you're kind of looking for, really. And then linebacker wise, you're going to have some bigger guys in the middle with some speedier guys on the outside. So your middle guys are going to be 6 foot, 250. That's what you're 245 maybe. And then your outside guys, you can probably get away with some 6 foot, 6'2", 230, 240 type guys. That's kind of but they got to be quick on the outside, because they're playing in the pass rush and stuff like that, or they're in the back end. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, if they can just find the monsters, they'll be good. And then I guess,
Is
but
that not is that
yeah,
not normal? You just got some of
no,
those guys laying around.
yeah, I know. Just pluck them from the ground. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, obviously, I doubt, year two under Capone that all those needs that you just talked are going to be addressed. But hopefully, there's a significant jump in whatever it is that they feel that they need, whether it be size, strength, speed, athleticism, whatever they need. But obviously, I would think size is probably the biggest, de facto right now in the current scheme and the players that they have playing in that personnel. So again, hopefully they can address that quickly. Moving over to the offensive side of the ball, what are your thoughts there offensively?
Resilient. That's what I was thinking when I thought about the game today. I was thinking that this was a resilient team. It's hard to come back and win your last 2 games when you know you're not going to a bowl game, right? It's hard to do it for the seniors. It's hard to come back and win. And they did what they had to do against Tulsa and against UAB to win. And the UAB game started out feeling like they might not win that. And one thing this team, I think, did really well all season was not get down on themselves when they gave up a lead or got down early or something like that. They were always coming back and always in a game. And so for Coach Morris's tenure thus far, I think that's one of the biggest positives is he's been able to keep his kids tuned in to playing ball, even when they don't really have as much to play for or when they've been down or something like that. So kudos to him for that, because that's a tough thing to do. Morale is tough to control that way. And so they must have a really good locker room. That's got to make you feel good for the future.
And obviously, the football count highlighted it, but Chandler Rogers going over 3,000 yards, Jamori Macklin over 1,000, Io Day over 1,000. A lot to highlight on the offensive side of the ball this year. Oscar Attaway also just that running back room. Can't really say enough of what Coach Copps has done. And we sound like a broken record every time we talk about it, but he truly has done a lot of great things. Okay, so kind of getting into the retention talk. If everything plays out, and obviously a lot of these teams, I think there's going to be some surprise gets in the American as far as the quarterback position goes via the portal, just hearing things that there's going to be some good quarterbacks committed to some American schools. I do believe. But nevertheless, I also believe that Rogers will be the best QB in the conference next year if he returns to North Texas. It's not a done deal by any means. But if that's the case, and that's what's at stake here, how confident do you feel that North Texas is going to be able to retain a Rogers, a size, their 1,000-yard rusher, and kind of get into the weeds of things? What's the market at a North Texas sized school to try to NIL these guys to stay?
Well, I think that it would be a good thing for North Texas and a good thing for Chandler Rogers if he would stay. I think he's in a good system. He's put up a lot of numbers. He's already has the 4th highest single season passing total. I mean, we talked about that, I think, early in the season that, he'd probably be top 10 at the end of this year. And I think he is. I didn't look it up before we're taping, but he's got the ability to do good things here, just like we would like to retain him and continue to grow this offensive juggernaut that Coach Morris has brought here. So to me, a team like North Texas, your players are going to fetch, your higher end players, you're going to have a handful that are going to maybe be 20 to 25, maybe 30,000 on the high end. You might have some guys at 10 grand and then some at maybe 5. And that's pretty much what I think to be competitive in the American, you're going to have to do. I think that's the market. You'll have some outliers. SMU would have been an outlier. They're moving to the, obviously to the Atlantic ACC. But, there's going to be a few teams that might pay a little more. But I think that's the market. But I think there's a lot of kids who have left in North Texas to go find bigger money and not played. And I think that's a mistake as well for these players, because if you're not on the field, you're not getting tape, you're not finding new opportunities, you're not getting drafted at the next level. So you have to be on the field to make things happen. The money's great. 20 grand is great. Don't get me wrong. I wish I had it when I was playing, but I would not, it's not life-changing. I would not jump ship to go to a potentially worse situation unless the money was just incredibly good. And the only people I know making that money are, at your Texas and your, Alabama and those types of groups. And you got to be a 5-star guy to get that, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I think it is. And then as far as North Texas, I think North Texas has got to figure out their NIL. I mean, that's my thoughts on that.
And, obviously just go ahead and say it here, but there's disclaimer. This is not insider information. This is we're just speculating. We don't know the NILs that are happening or not happening per se as of current date. But let's say you are, a Rogers, an IO, whoever you are, and maybe and I'm asking you, these guys are, 20 years old, maybe
Sure.
21. They're younger men, and you just think differently when you're that age. But if you're getting, whispers through the grapevine of, hey, so such and such university really wants you, and on top of a scholarship, there's going to be a the $40,000 and maybe a car lease and this, that, and the other, and but maybe it is better for your football potential career beyond college, as far as the shots you may have, is if you stay at North Texas. But if they're not going to offer you anything, do you feel like that's going to kind of pull at their, I don't know if the pride is the right word, but just feeling the appreciation and maybe the lack thereof if it's not offered, as opposed to maybe if, and I'm not just singling out North Texas, but all G5 schools, if they were to just throw that guy, okay, maybe here's 15 grand or 10 grand or 20, whatever's in the budget that makes sense, just to
Right.
make the said guy feel the, okay, like at least, I'm locked in.
Yeah,
They're
feel the love.
willing to
You
invest in
want
me.
him to
Yeah.
feel the love, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah, no,
put on,
I'm
yeah.
with you.
So how do you feel like you would have taken that at their age if you were playing during this portal NIL era?
It's hard to answer that because I didn't play in that era, and I feel like when I played, being disrespected was a constant thing because unless you were a 4-year starter, I mean, there was a handful of guys that were always going to be playing, right? But most guys, they're out recruiting your replacement every year. So when you play in college football, you pretty much understand that there's a good likelihood they're trying to find either a JUCO guy or a high school kid to come in and take your position. So you almost have to compete every year, whether you want to or not. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some guys who were always going to start, but for the most part, a lot of us had to go out there every year and sort of reclaim a starting position. Nothing was guaranteed, and injuries happen, people get hurt, and you're out. You know what I mean? And that's the real business of football. So for me, the not getting dollars or getting dollars probably, that disrespect or that part of it probably was something I was already going to be dealing with. If somebody was going to give me enough money to make it make sense for me to move and change my situation, I would have taken it probably, because there is a dollar amount that I think forces you to make a move. But if it's not enough, I would encourage people, if they're in a good situation, they're likely going to be the starter, and they, if they have family or support around here, to probably stay, because it for $5,000 one way or the other is probably not worth the change unless you're not in a good situation in North Texas, right? So that would be my advice to people. Now, if I had 1,000-yard rushing season and UNT's scoffing me and not even going to give me a dime, and I got 50 grand somewhere else, I'm going to be hurt a little bit. But I think that also comes down to what is North Texas doing for NIL. And I tell you right now, I think it's pretty disjointed. So I don't know what they're doing. Maybe there's stuff happening behind the scenes that I don't know about. But I wish we were better organized, because it seems to be the way that people are going. And I think that people are out pounding the pavement right now to try to get talent. I mean, season's over, they're out on the road trying to find people. So
Yeah, it's NIL is vital. It's a must need. Well, Ryan, anything else we need to touch on before we jump off here?
I guess that's mostly it. I mean, I guess congratulations on salvaging a season, 5 wins. We didn't. It could have been worse. There were some times we thought it was going to be worse,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think there's a lot to build on for next year. I'm actually excited to see where this offense and this team goes, because I think the coach has got them dialed in, and I think they're working on that locker room and doing some good things. Hopefully they can be supportive and get an off season in and be ready to rock and roll next year.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate all the help on the
Yeah,
podcast this season.
it's
I'm
been
sure
fun.
I'll wrangle you in a couple times this off season when
Sure,
some
we can do some
for,
recruiting stuff, but
yeah,
I appreciate you having me this year. It's been great.
yeah, definitely a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll talk really soon. And as always, go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.